Okay, folks, we're back again after the session this morning where we had the trucks dry. We did the wash on them, the Agrax Earthshade wash, and got my contacts in, so we got to use readers of some form or another. And I don't know if I could tell the difference between the greens. It's pretty much irrelevant. I think this is the old one. Doesn't really matter. They're close enough as it is. We're going to need the dry brushing one that I used for the green. There's no point in getting another one all involved. And we dry brushed the core the green color, and then we did the Agrax Earthshade replacement, which is a strong tone from Army Painter. And now we're going to go back with this core color again and dry brush over it and see if I'm going to use the same brush I was using before. Okay, and we're just going to use the new green because it's easier to replace, really. And it's almost the same color. All right, we shouldn't need that. This is all dry, right? Okay. I don't like painting with a bunch of other wet paint in different places because you start not trusting where you left the dried one and the wet one, and I don't want to accidentally grab it, bring it on something else. All right, so we're just going to go over with the base color again. Of course, this is all going to get weathered also. And make sure it's set to the right. The correct chat. Okay. And between basing this in black and dry brushing the core color, and then also doing the shade, you're going to have some nice contrast here. That we can work off of. Just a little bit more, this one's done. Every step in my process, as you go to the next one, it's quicker than the previous one. So painting something overall in one color is what seems to take longer than anything else. And every step after that is quicker. Oh yeah, this is looking nice. We've got some nice contrast going on here. You know, it just smooths everything out. Let's grab an equivalent vehicle. Just cleans it up a little bit more. And this is just the core color on it. We're going to add some sand on there. Mix that in. Were we able to identify which one was the old and which was the new? Yeah, they're damn near the same thing. It's the same. It's the same color equivalent. Just Vallejo decided to reformulate it for some reason. So it used to be called Russian green, and that's what it was. And now the Russian green is now called camouflage orange green. Camouflage olive green. I was watching some Russian movie, relatively recent, and they had one of these running in it. It had some writing and stuff on it, so unit markings on it. Very, very minimalist. And white, of course. A lot easier to come by with white paint to identify anything else than any colors or nothing like that. But these are the only trucks that I have for the Soviets at this time. I'd like to get the Studebakers. Hey, go for it painting. Hey, where are you located at? What continent or country are you at? Once again, you hit me at the very beginning. And do you run a painting services? Or you just like the paint? Just add some extra depth to this. Trucks, if you buy them, the old model kits from Eschi. I don't know. Do people call it ESCI, or we always called it Eschi? Never know. Might have been saying all, or might have been trying to give it a name, and all along it's just initials. But the Eschi trucks, they're a pain to put together because they have a bunch of suspension pieces, the leaf springs in particular, that are very finicky to put on there. They're not marked well where they go, and in the case of some vehicles, they're not shaped properly, so you can't get them to fit in there. So I don't mind things being finicky if they fit in there okay. But fit and finish on some things is just not great. And you know, they're older kits from, I think they're from the late 70s or something like that. Been repackaged several times, and they were kind of the gold standard there for a while, of doing 172nd scale tanks. They had a whole lot of vehicles that they made that, I think at that time you had Airfix. Well, Airfix been around forever. And the Matchbox vehicles, which were 176th, which I don't care, I mix things in there. It's the Hoffman. Attack of the Hoffman. How you doing, man? This is the guys I primered last night, and then I dry brushed them this morning and gave them the sealant. I gave them the wash, and now we're going over them. So hopefully we'll have these trucks done by the weekend. Not counting being on a base. You do like the new setup's audio. Is it different than the old one? It's a smaller room. Is there less echo? I don't know, it's the same microphone. Good to know that things are working well. Yeah, I think I have the light where it needs to be. It needs to be up here, you know, shining on stuff. Over here just doesn't really work. So, need to dry brush some stuff. I should just get knocked out the way while watching you. Sure. That way you can buy more stuff. I find this really relaxing and very forgiving. Very forgiving. Audio was just a little low. Well, for what it's worth, I haven't changed anything. Maybe I'm just not as quiet in here. I don't know. If you met me face to face, I speak pretty loudly. I'm not one of those people that, I'd like to talk about something because no, I enunciate. So maybe I was just being quiet for the sake of other people in the house, and I just don't give a shit about them. No, and the funny thing is this room's not as sealed up as well as any of the other ones. I literally have like a barn style door in here, and if the TV's on loud in there, it'll come in through here. But I get some ideas if it doesn't work, if it doesn't soundproof, put some soundproof curtain. But I'm not really looking at reasons to throw money at something. So if it's working just fine, I'm gonna leave it alone. I got one left after this one. Okay, then we'll add some of the sand color and start bringing these up. So what's the name of this Godzilla movie? This new Godzilla movie that you said was pretty good. And somebody was telling me it was like in 1947 or something like that. Was it you? You might have been the one telling me it was in 47. Got a bunch of Walker Bulldogs, or I don't know if, no, Walker Bulldogs didn't come out till 51. What tanks were available in 47? Well, the Japanese weren't allowed to have any. Shermans running around? Easy 8 Shermans? Chafies? I take it you like Godzilla movies. That Godzilla is your favorite kaiju. Who's number two? Called Minus One. They show a Japanese tank in the movie. Ooh, is it a Hago? I doubt it is. Who's your second favorite kaiju? I saw those movies as a kid, and I like them because it's like it's like a dinosaur. Anything that's dinosaurish, I'm a fan of. You know, as long as it's a dinosaur and doesn't have feathers, because I'm old school. My dinosaurs don't have feathers. I don't want dinosaurs with feather boas. Rodan number two. Rodan's like the dragon one, right? Yeah. There was a there was a game, and I want to say it was on the original Xbox. That was like a battle game with kaiju's. You were on this city. It wasn't very big, and you had to. It was like a fighting game where you had to. I think I rented it back when you could rent games from Blockbuster, and I remember liking it, even though it was very limited as far as the play area and everything. I don't know that they've made other ones. I guess it's not very popular. I would think the Godzilla stuff would be very popular. I mean, what's not to like, you know? The only way I think those movies don't do well is if they focus too much on the humans. I don't give a shit about the humans. I want to see, you know, big monster destroying buildings. That's what I'm there for. I'm not there for, the not worried for the little fleas on there. I think this is dark sand is the mixture that I use. If not, that's what we're going to do this time. I honestly can't keep all the movies straight. How many new modern movies have there been? Is this the third one? The first modern movie is the one that has, oh man, what's his name? The guy from Ferris Bueller, right? That's the first one. That one came out about 2000. And then about 10 years later, there was the other one. Oh, then there's the Kong one, and then this one. It was a Type 4 Cheeto tank. Took me a while to figure out this new Godzilla movie has a major focus on the characters. It's kind of a family drama. Modern one, number 5. Okay. And I'm only talking about the ones that came to the U.S. audiences. I don't know. There might be ones that were exclusive to Japan or something like that. Matthew Broderick. That's what I'm thinking of. Matthew Broderick is the first new one. I think that's who's in it. I only watch movies one time, so. Then you got the one after that one that has the Japanese guy in it. Wanatabe or whatever his name is, that everybody likes, including me. Then you got the Godzilla versus Kong, and then you got this other one. But where's the fifth one? I'm missing one. That's the only ones I can recall. I didn't like. I want to say the one with the Japanese guy was good. Is that the one where they stir up all the other monsters? That's what you want to see. Not only you get one kaiju, you get multiple kaiju. And as a kaiju fan, did you like Pacific Rim? What did you think of Pacific Rim? Because there's kaiju's in there. Well, my favorite kaiju of all is the Kraken in the remake of um, Wrath, whatever it's called, Clash of the Titans. That Joker's huge. It's like, here's your town, and here's a Kraken, and he poops, your entire town gets covered in it, you know. Monsters gotta be big. Monsters gotta be big. That's what I'm there for, seeing big monsters. Okay, I hope it's Dark Sands. We got a shitload of it here now. Ended up turning off Pacific Rim. I really like the Kraken and the original. Yeah, he's freaking huge, man, and badass looking too. A face that would give you nightmares. That's what you want, but cool too. Not like You don't like Pacific Rim? I don't know. I like seeing those big monsters. I don't remember. I only saw it one time. I think that was the first movie I saw. Isn't Idris in that? Adiris or whatever it is? Idris? I think that was the first movie I saw with him in it. Yeah. The first Kraken, you're done for. The one in the remake, you're done for. So one thing that is similar in feeling of the kaiju is there was a cartoon. I know I've talked about this before. I don't know if you were around when I talked about this, but the cartoon that I used to love as a kid, a before 10-year-old kid, when we lived in Huntsville, Alabama, is this cartoon that was Japanese in nature, but it had been reformatted for American audiences. And in America, it was called Battle of the Planets. I think the Japanese name of it is like Ninja Science Team Gotcha Man or something like that. But it's these five teenagers that transform into these bird-like, bird motif superheroes that go out and defend Earth from intergalactic oppressors or whatever. Well, the cool thing about it is, or at least what I thought was the cool thing about it is, the intergalactic oppressors have these big kaiju-like machines in every episode. It's a different one every time because things don't work out for them. And they're all like huge looking things. They're all mechanical in nature, spacecraft, what have you. But they're all in the shape of something that you recognize on Earth. So they're like a giant turtle or an armadillo or vulture, squid, things like that. And they're really I thought they were really cool as a kid. So you're basically like you're fighting like a big kaiju type thing, and I always thought it was pretty neat. I remember when you're a kid, there's things that scare you that shouldn't scare you, and that's not without looking at horror movies. I'm just talking about there's some things that have scared me, at a young age. One of them is that cartoon, that British cartoon, Watership Down, with the freaking bunnies that are just. It has a lot of gore and it's violence, and now it's like whatever, But you're a kid, you're not expecting to see something Bambi like with guts and violence and that kind of stuff. And the other thing was this one particular episode of Battle of the Planets, and one of the things was, and it was like the second or third episode. I've watched it recently, and I'm like, really, this is what I was worried about. But see if we can, with one coat on here, the difference here. And you're getting a lot of shine, so it's kind of hard to tell. But we're still going to go up another level on this. But one of the episodes of this Battle of the Planet, they had concocted. It was called something like the Space Mummy or something like that. And sure enough, it's just a huge mummy, mechanical in nature, whatever. You know, it's as big as, Godzilla. Godzilla-like mummy. Attacking an airport and shit like that. You know, he's got wraps on him and stuff like. Of course, he flies through the air. He's got like rockets in his feet. Just imagine a big mummy like Superman, but it's a big mummy. Comes and lands and starts, terrorizing people on Earth. And it's not that I'm afraid of mummies, because I'm not. Mummies don't do anything for me. Just like zombies don't do anything for me. But there's this one part of it, if I remember correctly. It's attacking the airport, and they're sending all the tanks and fighter planes and everything to destroy this thing. And they don't do shit to it, except they catch the wraps of the mummy on fire. And in the process of catching the wraps of the mummy on fire, it reveals what's underneath the wraps. And it's this demonic looking huge, and I didn't like that as a kid. I was like, it bothered me. I don't like demon type things, and I really didn't like them as a kid. So this cartoon episode was, disturbed me. Not that I wouldn't watch it, but it just was just kind of eerie. Just like I never watched Doctor Who, okay, but it was on PBS at the time, back when Tom Baker, the guy with the curly hair, was the doctor, or whatever, and. You flip through channels and sometimes you watch shit and it doesn't make any sense, especially if you're like, 11, 12 years old or whatever. And one of the bad guys, the leader of the Daleks, was some guy named, I think his name's Davros or something like that, named after some Greek island. He basically has a scary mask looking thing. And his mouth doesn't even move or anything like that. But, he's kind of demonic, undead looking. And I didn't like that as a kid either, so... There's a couple of visions that that kind of bother me. That things that you would consider scary. Now as an adult I'd be like zippy doo dah, but you're a young kid, and there's some things that are just make you feel kind of uneasy. Some guy in a cheesy rubber mask. I've been talking about before. It's a genre over in Japan called Super Robot or Super Robo. Yeah. The second Clash of Titans, if I remember correctly, was trash. The second remake, but the first one was actually all right. I thought it was okay. Who doesn't want to see a huge scorpion fighting a huge scorpion or something like that? That's cool. I like Greek legend stuff. And just so you guys know, I did start watching Jason and the Argonauts. I think you told me about it, that it was on YouTube. And I watched about a third of it, and it looked kind of decent. And I had to stay late for work. And I went back to the car waiting for the crew to finish. And I got about 30 minutes into it, and then I forgot all about it, I just, I'll have to go back to it. And I tried to find that Bradbury thing, but I didn't have it written down. I have it written here, not in my car. So the other day on the way to work, I'm like, I'm going to listen to that Bradbury thing, and I couldn't remember what the name of it was, so I didn't get around to seeing that. But I will, because I liked your recommendation on the other things, so. I have some level of trust in it. And what's the worst thing that happened? I waste 30 minutes, while I'm doing something else. I did picks up beginning. It's kind of slow. Bronze. Yeah. No, I don't. I didn't get very far. In it. Okay, that's two down. They've never made a really good movie about the Odyssey, have they? I remember that in middle school. I remember I've always thought that was pretty cool. They've made, I mean a good remake, not just something just thrown together. Of course, to be honest with you, all I remember about that is the Cyclops Island. Everything else, I mean, I know he stopped at a bunch of other places with the sirens and shit like that, but it's all about the Island and getting his eye poked out and the sheep, having to feel the sheep up, and they're hiding underneath the sheep. So honestly, we were serious as kids interested. Looked alright, but you were a kid, yeah. There's got to be one that they did, with the Harryhausen type of thing. The Greek legend stuff is almost like historical fiction. You know, it's like that stuff's been part of our psyche. That it's historical fiction, not necessarily fiction. Fiction. It just feels different than the other stuff than if it was totally fictionalized. I saw a preview for the Gladiator movie. It's coming out next year, and I don't know if it was a legitimate trailer for it, but hopefully it wasn't, because it looked like total and complete travesty. And I'm a fan of the Gladiator movie. It's not perfect. I don't expect to learn history from it, but some things are better than typical Hollywood, and I would say that's one of them. I would also say The Centurion is better than typical Hollywood. I like that one quite a bit. Is it a good movie? No, it's just better than typical Hollywood. I never have asked. I never have asked Mitch what he thought about Napoleon. I'm sure he's probably seen it. He's into nappy stuff. Odyssey 1997 is the one I watched. It stars the guy who played the guy in Judge Dredd. Well, I haven't seen Judge Dredd. The Odyssey 97 one. Oh, that's. I hear 97 is pretty recent. I mean, for I wouldn't call 97 an old movie. That was just the other day. No, it wasn't, but it is. How many? I hear Judge Dredd, and I think Sylvester Stallone, but I think there's been other Judge Dredds, and I haven't seen any of them. But I'm not really a comic book person, so. And there's a couple things I associate with other things. Like I hear Judge Dredd, and I think of RoboCop. I don't know why. I just put the two things together. I remember when the RoboCop came out, the first one, and that was like the most violent movie I had ever seen up to that point. And some of this lighter color simulates some weathering and shit like that. He was the bad guy in the Judge Dredd movie you were mentioning. RoboCop never clicked with me. I don't know what you said after that because the stupid heart's in the way. Like the outfit. There we go. Did like the outfit. Okay. Did not like the outfit. Okay. And it was just a thing to watch. You know, I was 18 when it came out. 18 or 16. Something like that. Had the old typical group of villains from the 1980s. Isn't Michael Ironside in that? Michael Ironside's always a villain. He's in there, always bad guy. Randy Cox, always a dickhead, always a villain. Typecast. Yep, you're going to be an asshole. Everybody's going to hate you. Okay. And then there's some movies that have this huge following. And I'm not a movie person. I really am not. But, you know, I watch them. You know, I've watched them. I don't sit around and rewatch things. But some movies have this huge following I just don't get. You know, the plot doesn't interest me or the casting choice. It's usually the plot. Like a plot's just like, I'm just not interested in this. You know, and one of those movies that the one that I'm thinking of, because it's that same time period as RoboCop, and it seems like everybody likes this movie except me. And no, it's not. It's not Kelly's Heroes, which I'm willing to watch again. But I don't want to listen to the intro song. It's just stupid. Can't type today. It happens to me too. It's really frustrating if you like write and never misspell stuff, and then you go to the keyboard and you can't, you just make all kinds of errors. That happens to me too. The issue I'm running into a lot of times is I'm writing a lot of things that say load whatever, so capital LOAD, and I don't get off the shift key, so I end up with capital L, capital O, small a, D, and it's annoying that I have to go back and no, I just want the L capitalized. Try to stay away from movies huge followings. I usually don't get it. Start hearing people talk shit about why I'm wrong, whatever. Well, you're not wrong. We just have different opinions. The movie I'm thinking of is Highlander. I don't get it. I don't get why so many people think that's a great movie. I think it's a silly ass plot. I get it. You got Scottish stuff in there. Okay, make a different movie with Scottish stuff in it. Got nothing against the Scots. Just I don't understand why it has such a huge following. You know. I mean, I like Sean Connery, but he disenfranchised my people by playing one of them. Disenfranchised, I don't think was even in the English language in 1986. Yeah. Oh, well, you and I are the only people that don't like Highlander. I don't know why people just love that movie. And science fiction is really weird. Sometimes you like the idea of science fiction, but the science they decided to pick isn't really what, makes sense to you. Like Dune, okay? Dune, and I haven't seen the new one. I'm talking about the old one, which I only saw once a long time ago. I don't remember anything about it, except what strikes me is everything's cool except their voice weapons. And I'm like, no, no, no. Why would you come up with that? You know? I should make a list of science fiction movies that I do like. It's not like it'd be an exhausting list. And I should say I should put an asterisk on that. Say movies that I remember liking, because if I watched them again, I may not think that highly of them. It's the Big Mac. The Big Mac is back. Big Mac attack. I never had a McRib. Never got into Dune. Yeah. The first Alien is good. I remember liking Total Recall. Um, I don't know if I watched it again, if I could stand it, but I remember watching it at theaters and liking it. Um, what else? The remake was trash, other than Kate Beckinsale was in it. That's the only reason I watched it. Disclaimer. What else? I should do that. I should do like a whole programming where we just look at science fiction movies. I haven't seen that many of them. I've seen a hell of a lot more of them than westerns, though. I'm way behind on westerns. Got back from Christmas shopping. Now I know why I moved to the Boondocks. Yep. Yeah. I don't really quote movies. I don't really watch movies, but there's some quotes that really stick in my mind. And yeah, Predator has one of them. You're an ugly motherfucker. Oh man, but that's what it is. Even though you like the science fiction, maybe they'll just take it a bit too far, or it goes in a direction that you wouldn't have gone. Does some things that are a bit extreme, maybe for you. Okay, so these guys are all dry brushed with this. Um, we're going to bring it up a little bit more. Well, let's compare it to some tanks, so that we have some similarity. We don't want one to be, and of course these have weathering on them, so it's kind of hard to tell. Little cute little T-70. Cute little commie tank. I think I'm gonna rinse this, and we're gonna paint the wheels, the tires. Sorry. This is a T-70. This is a light Soviet tank. Um, it was the last light Soviet tank that they made. Um, and they stopped producing them in 43. I want to say in early 43. They used the hull for the Su-76. It's a 45 millimeter gun. Got some sloped armor on it. Um, Three-man tank, I think. I think it's a three-man tank. Cute little thing. And after Kursk, they pretty much just didn't use these things anymore. Weren't they weren't frontline service. And even at Kursk, they really weren't frontline service. It's pretty much like after Stalingrad, they just kind of just went by they used them because they had to, but that same 45 millimeter gun that was on the tanks, there's two versions of the 45 millimeter gun that the Soviets had out of their anti-tank gun. The 46 caliber one, which is this one, and then I want to say the other one was a 66 caliber. But the 46 was the only one that was actually put on the tank. The 66 had pretty good penetration. I want to say even better than the German 50. Not the long 50, but the 42 caliber 50. But I could be mistaken. We're going to need to get Flow Aid, the miracle that is Flow Aid. Russian tanks are weak. They're being destroyed in Ukraine right now. I don't know. Is that's still going on? I don't think anybody's getting their ass kicked really well because it's been going on way too long. I tell you what, when it first started, I was glued to the TV, and then 3 days in, when they went over to that one island, and they're like, you better surrender, or we're gonna kill everybody. And then a week later, it got out that they didn't kill anybody at all. I haven't watched coverage of it since. Like, no, I'm not being told what's going on, so not worth my time. Yeah, this flow aid really makes this process a lot easier. Where you can just grab the paint, it just waters it down. It just turns it into basically like thinned down enamels. The way it behaves. Yeah, well, the thing is, if you buy this, it'll probably last you the rest of your life because you just use so little of it. And they have that at Michael's carries it. I know you got Michael's out in Texas. Michael's is one of those stores like Target that before they redesigned it, it was a lot better. Um, But the Ukraine war, we'll call it the Ukraine war, everybody knows what we're talking about. What it made me realize was that there's some things we're just never going to get all the information on. Like, if you read about World War II stuff, right? It's pretty certain that we kind of knew what was going on. Or maybe we don't. Maybe I'm just being misled as well, but there's just some things that we're just never going to find out about. There's so much obfuscation and, hey, I don't want to pick sides. I just want to know what's really going on, I don't want to be misled. Uncensored about the war. Racks, you said? Haven't been to Michael's in a while, but yeah, we have them. And Hobo Lobo. I don't think, yeah, Hobo Lobo carries it as well, yeah. What are you doing playing war games in the middle of the day? Salerno 43. That's what I was asking myself when I saw Tony get on. Yeah. I had to wait for them to dry. I want to do something productive, man. Not likely I'll fall asleep in the middle of the day. But at night, I'm not worth a shit at night. British retook Salerno, but our stiff German counterattacks. Americans are pushing inland, but hitting stiff German resistance. It's turned into a slugfest now. Yeah, that theater is one of the most forgotten about theaters, and I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, that whole soft underbelly thing. Until they do something like a Band of Brothers in the Italian campaign or something like that. I bet if you did something like that, a lot of people would be like, "Man, I didn't even know they even fought in Italy." Yep. Yes, they did. D&D people still play? Running your advanced Dungeons and Dragons game. You running that virtually through a Zoom or something like that? Or is it some kind of a video game? Okay, that little truck's done. Use Roll20 and Discord to talk. I'm not familiar with Roll20. Closest I think I can get to play D&D would be playing like some D&D type video game or something like that. I just can't keep track of what the difference is between D&D 3.5, Pathfinder. I can't keep track of all that shit. I don't do any of it, so it's kind of irrelevant. Zero plans to sell any of my TSR Dungeons and Dragons. They're worth a good bit. Yeah, see, so what's the other stuff? The Wizards of the Coast? I don't know. I can't keep that shit straight. Isn't Wizards of the Coast people the ones that started that whole magic crap? I remember when that magic crap started. I was working at the hobby store, and these man, the people that bought that stuff were freaking annoying. It's just, I don't understand. I guess I'd never heard of, I need to get this, so I have to keep buying packs. I'm like, what? You know? I never did finish that game, Dungeon Siege. I really liked that one. I'm trying to think when that was. I think that came out in the late 2000s, like 2007 or something like that. My computer could barely run it. And what I really liked about that system is that you just picked a character. You're either going to be male or female, and that was it. There was no third or fourth or 16th option. You were either a girl or you were a dude. That's it. And I think they gave you like one magic spell, a bow, and like a hand weapon, and maybe even a shield or something like that. And then what you did with it from then, you just kind of figured it out. So, you got better using your bow. If you used your bow a lot, you got better at using your bow. If you like to stab things a lot, you got better at doing that. using the shield. I thought it was kind of a novel idea. Maybe it was a novel idea back then. I'm sure there's probably lots of games that do that kind of stuff, but I kind of prefer that than just, okay, this is the kind of character. I shouldn't say that. No, I like them both ways. But I like the idea is you get better at stuff as you do it. But the problem is doesn't really. You got to then have the discipline to play a different character. You have to make a conscious effort to play differently. So. Okay, let's see what we got here. History of D&D. I'm sure there's probably some really good videos on that. Pathfinder First Edition is essentially 3.0, 3.5 with the rules more fleshed out and the per hour curve is higher. So I told my everybody quit playing something else. Wizards of the Coast started with Magic Gathering and bought TSR in the late 90s. It killed TSR versus D&D, replaced it with their take on the game. Current version is 20. Game has never been is the worst. The game has never been. This might be more popular. Okay, so yeah. So at one point, when I hear D&D, I'm thinking of the stuff that I played when I was 13 or 14 years old. That had, there was a D4 and a D6 and a D8 and a 12 and all that kind of stuff, and you had Thaco and that's it. But I guess they have the D20 stuff, which honestly makes more sense only because it's it's a soft percentile, but I don't even know which one that one's called. Maybe all the versions of D&D use D20 now, but the problem I've always had with those fantasy games is that I prefer a fantasy genre to science fiction. But sometimes the fantasy is just things that I don't fantasize about. Sometimes the setting just doesn't really appeal to me. It's a little too much like a Marvel movie where just anything goes. Game is might be more popular. The game still uses the same dice. I don't care for PDFs, so there's no chance to sell my stuff unless I'm truly done with the hobby. I had a few of the old modules and I sold many years ago. I don't think I bought them myself. I think they were hand-me-downs from somebody else. I'm trying to remember, but shit, I had them when I was like 14 or 15 years old. Used to go to the boys club and summer camp and play that shit. I had the old Keep on the Borderlands and Tomb of Horrors. You read through that, you're like, yeah, nobody's surviving this shit. There's nobody's, somebody's gonna fall prey to one of those things. But they had some with like laser weapons and stuff that just didn't really appeal to me. I was a big fan of the Keep of the Borderlands one. I always think that'd make really good miniatures game. It's a big cave complex and you go in and the tactical combat stuff's the part that interests me. It's not the, want to do interactions with other people and have conversations. Just, I'm a little, that's not really my thing. Doesn't mean I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. It's just, that's not my appeal. Something like, what's the Games Workshop one? The dungeon crawl one, Hero Quest or whatever. That's more my type of thing, where you go in and you have to solve tactical problems with stuff. Best to never play tournament popular rules because historical players are constantly jumping to the new shiny. Your best bet is find a set of rules for each period. Stick with it. No one plays or wants to play, just paint and collect. Can't abide rules, jumping like going out of style. I'd never played a tournament style rule until I played, you know what. And the problem with I was I actually did not experience people that were a problem for the most part. My problem was that things would creep up, and you couldn't come to a consensus about how it was going to be played because you couldn't make changes because it would be you'd be playing one way and the tournament would be another way, and so you're stuck with playing the game in a way that is inferior to a fix that you might come up with. So. But now they got all kinds of weird shit that didn't exist in D&D before. Hold on 1 second. I will be right back. I need to get a refill. All right. Somebody was taking a nap, and I wanted to make sure that they woke up and didn't spend the rest of the day and evening in bed. As I've been home all day. Supposed to go to one of my favorite places to go to, the liquor store. If the Bretonian Knights are reasonably priced and considered because they're my favorite Warhammer faction, they're price gouged, forget about it. Uh-oh. I missed something. Let's see. Games Workshop bringing back the old Warhammer fantasy stuff, but it's going to change it's your charge through the ask for it, and then you got to worry about them killing the game again. Yeah, I don't trust them for killing the game. Forget the price gouging, because they make a good product. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The Games Workshop makes good product stuff. At least I think they do. Now, they did the one set of Citadel paint. It wasn't worth a damn. I used it one time and it dried up. But the stuff that they used to make was great. The stuff that they make now, I'm pretty happy with. I've never bought their miniatures because I don't do that scale and I don't do that genre. But it stuff looks, the stuff looks pretty cool. Yeah, but the killing the game, they can go fly a kite up their ass. I don't like that. Made a mistake once doing Flames of War and sucked the fun out of the hobby. Sucks when everybody just wants to play late war in Northwest Europe. Yeah, I'm not painting. I'm not playing British versus British and shit like that. Not paying $40 for one plastic miniature. You know it. Yeah. the worst thing is like, you know, why would you support somebody who's not loyal to you as a consumer? You know, it's like if you work in a place, all right, and you end up getting a new supervisor, and this is a new supervisor that, if you look at the resume, every year to 2 years, they're moving from one company or another. Why even listen to them? Just wait, just bide your time until it's time for them to move on, and then maybe you can build a relationship with the next guy. But it's like, if you're not loyal to me, why am I going to be not loyal to you? You know. Yeah, and I value stuff like loyalty and shit a lot. So yeah, that's if that was my genre, I don't really like the way they conduct business. It's not. It doesn't really. It's not compatible with my slow painting style. So and it's not you being disloyal to Games Workshop. They don't support their own games. Like, man, you guys came up with this game. It's pretty cool. Yeah, we don't like it anymore. It's stupid. Well, then why should I trust you ever again? Seems like those kind of games, though, one of the biggest sin they have for players is that and maybe it's the pricing of it because it's so expensive, and also it's because it takes so long to build some of it and paint it. But you get these players, they don't collect both sides. They only collect, vampire counts, or they only collect, rat people or whatever it is, and they don't learn how to play something else. So they're very limited. It'd be like, okay, I'm only doing Soviet vehicles. So, well, they need somebody to fight. The Soviets just can't sit there and fight themselves. The people that I just buy King Tigers and don't buy anything else. Um, you can't appreciate how good the real good things are if you don't play the crappy stuff. You know. How many tanks vehicles have you painted since you got back to World War II? You started back just a little bit over a year. I got about 100. I got about 100 done. Now, the last 3 months I haven't gotten shit done, just because of the move and the impending doom of the move. But I did build a lot. So I have about just shy of 100 painted and complete and ready to be painted and built. Probably, I don't have an exact number, but probably somewhere around 75. So, and I got space to put all of them in there. So, this is what I plan on doing. And I'm gonna do figures too. I've got plenty of figures that I like to do. I just need to. I'm just on a tear, clean doing this. So, well, you're gonna find out whether or not this room is very soundproof because there's stuff going on the other side, and that's what it is. That's the only problem with this room is it's not. It doesn't have a good seal on the door, so hopefully the girls aren't talking trash about any of you guys, or you'll hear it. Yeah, don't do that kind of crap. You're gonna hit dishes and shit like that because the kitchen's just on the other side. But I'd like to finish these tires and then be able to stop while they dry, and then we'll hit the dry brushing in the morning. Because I do need to go. That's about a month. That's not about it. No, I was on a tear, man. I was. And then, I just lost momentum. I just figured I had time to do it. Might as well do it. Make hay while the sun still shines. The the impending doom of the move was. Hold on one second. Okay. I'll shut down in about 15 minutes. Hopefully, I can get this done. But yeah, it was try to get stuff done while you can because it felt good. You know, not necessarily I got to build these for a game or something. Those days are over. I'm not going to be building things for a specific event that takes place on a specific day. That's a good way to piss me off. I don't need more of that stuff. Work is demanding enough with things you got to do by a certain time. We don't need more of that shit. Lost total momentum by trying to force self paint miniatures I utterly hated. Yep. Killed my enjoyment in the hobby. Now it'll be on the way out one day and I can start back fresh. That's right. This is why I paint at 5 o'clock in the morning because you don't have all these outside sounds. Not at 5. I can get up at 5, but I got to eat and have coffee. Man, those things are. Now, do you guys hear that boom, 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 boom? That's the dryer balls and the drying and on the dryer. Oh well, I don't live alone. So I guess the internet speed, the feed speed's all right for you guys. I haven't heard any complaining about it, so that's good. Wouldn't do any good. There's nothing I can do about it. Even if it was something I could fix, I don't have this. I don't have the skill set to be able to do that. Okay, there's half of them. No complaints yet. Well, that's good. Because that was my big concern about moving here. Yeah, because I can paint heraldry on 15 millimeter figures till the cows come home, but I can't fix internet connection issues. I'm just not. That's just not what my skill set is. Nor do I want it to be. You know, it's not that I dislike technology. It's just they change it too fast, and you know, if you're going to try to keep up with it, then that's going to end up being your hobby. And sorry, that's you know, that's not very therapeutic. That's not going to be very good. So, what's your least favorite? What's your least favorite war movie you remember seeing? It could be any war. No, it doesn't have to be Kelly's Heroes. And I bet that's probably not my least favorite one either. I haven't seen that in 30 years, probably. Decided to paint miniatures for the age of musketry with a major focus on Napoleonic Wars of World War II. Not going to bother with periods, so 1600 to 1945. What's wrong with 1599? What did 1599 do to you? Well, my daughter's going to have friends over. They're supposedly coming over at 6, which is in 15 minutes, but they're probably notoriously late. But those girls are going to be loud as shit. There's not even that many girls coming out, but so we definitely will not do the feed at the same time that's happening. Least favorite war movie? Gods and Generals. I saw it. Thought it was too preachy in comparison to Gettysburg. It was not very good. 1599 looked at me wrong. Okay. I agree. It was like a revival movie. You know, I didn't think that Stonewall Jackson was that much of a preachy thing. Yeah, I don't know that it was the worst war movie I've ever seen, but it was pretty preachy. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah, Gettysburg was better. Thin Red Line. God, that was horrible. I'm willing to give it another watch, though, because everybody wanted to see A and you got Q. I think that's what the problem with it was. Big Red 1. I saw Big Red 1 way back in the day. Not way back in the day, way back in my day. And remember, it's hating it. You know, why would you use an Israeli tank for a German vehicle? That's just wrong on so many levels. Man once said women are like bacon. They smell good, taste good, look good, but slowly kill you. Well, thanks for the wisdom. But do you still eat bacon? Yes. Okay, 2 left to go. You don't eat bacon? Just bacon or the pig stuff? I don't eat it very often. Thin Red Line has moments. There's definitely 2 all over. Big Red 1's okay movie story wise. Use of non-German vehicles and a lot of war movies. Big era suck. Yeah, but don't use a freaking Jewish tank for the Germans. I mean, it's just, the hell's wrong with you, man? You don't eat bacon either. Wow. I don't eat it very often, but I had it last weekend. I had plenty of it last weekend. We had some people over, and I often always have to get people onto people. Say, hey, don't overcook it. I don't want it super crispy. It tastes weird. I don't want it raw either, but and we're gonna do some Soviet stuff for a while. Give them their time in it. I got a lot of Soviet stuff to do. A lot of Soviet stuff to do. I got a lot of Soviet stuff to do that I want to do. It's not like, oh man, I gotta do Soviet stuff. Nah, Soviet stuff's cool. I mean, their equipment. I don't want to live in their, in their great society. They were tone deaf back then. You tried doing that now, I wonder if you'd be called out as a bigot or racist for using Israeli. It just is just wrong on so many levels. If you do that nowadays, they would actually call the Israelis the Nazis. I don't know. I'm not watching none of that shit. It's just so. I don't see why somebody's worried about being called something. Just call the people that called you something back. There you go. That's even harsher. If the internet was around in the 1980s, would all this stuff still be going on? I don't know. You ran your mouth in the 1980s, you get an atomic wedgie, you get your ass beat at school. You wouldn't do that shit again. And we're going to make these little tops so they're removable. But painting this without the flow aid would just be a nightmare. Paint would stick on all the wrong stuff. You have to reload your paintbrush a lot more often. A lot more often. Last one. Never know when you want to wish for infantry to ride in them or do a tailgate jump. I know that they don't have any comfortable seating here for the comrades. What do they sit on there? Indian style? I don't know. But these were gasoline powered. They always say, that the Soviets used diesel fuel. Their trucks were still gas powered. Petrol. Yeah. What's worse than having everything run on gas? Only some things run on gas. That's worse. That's a supply nightmare. I guess the Russians don't care. You don't like it, you walk. All right. glorious leader, Comrade Stalin. You know, I already told you that. I don't put any pro Stalin slogans on my tanks. I don't put any pro Hitler slogans either. Of course, I don't really put German slogans on tanks. Have you noticed that when you put slogans on your vehicles for a morale boost, it's because you need it? You know, the only morale boosting, the only time that Germans really have writing on their tanks is like, when they're fighting in Berlin in 1945. Same thing. The slogans and the Soviet stuff is in 41 and 42. There's not really any tanks with slogans and destruction of Army Group Center. Like, they know they're going to win at that point. The steamrollers are rolling. And Soviet Russia's truck drive you, comrade. That's right. That's right. Land where everything's backwards. Feel like when I play World War II war game with the Soviets, I need to get one of those furry hats to go with my funny accent I use. Yeah, I told my daughter that's the kind of hat she should get where we're going in a couple weeks. Of course, we got to make sure you get one of those. It doesn't have a. Actually, I'm fine with a red star. I just don't like the hammer and sickle. Red star is actually a pretty cool symbol, if you ask me. Like Soviet aircraft, especially like modern Soviet aircraft, they're pretty cool looking. They got a good look to them. They obviously don't work worth a damn, but they have some nice camouflage schemes with blues and grays and shit like that, and that red star pops out nicely. And Soviet Russia backwards is forwards. Yep. I play this when I play the Soviets, man. I always think that they're fighting for payback, for getting invaded, not push some kind of great, wonderful communist manifesto bullshit forward. I get that. I can get I can get behind the well, you invaded us. Well, that's what you get for backstabbing the Poles, but. I can understand why people would want to fight for the motherland, for payback, all the atrocities that the Germans did, which, as war gamers, we never understood why they did that. All they had to do is come in there as liberators, but then you read about it and it's like, well, they would have never done that. And the whole point is they were, take their land and enslave the people that were there. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, that's maybe why they didn't win, it just doesn't make any sense. I agree, it doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't have made a very good Nazi. A lot of their stuff just doesn't make any sense. Everything of them doesn't make any sense. I like playing Soviets, get to use funny accent. Yeah, I like playing Soviets because you make fun about being drunk all the time. And having two teeth in your skull. Are we done? I think we are. We'll have to wait for this to dry, which means we could do the dry brushiness. We can do the weathering in the morning. These things are so ugly, they're cute. I look like on, see how they look like on that screen. How shocked were you with the boys when they brought out Stormfront as a Nazi? I was shocked that they used a Jewish actress to play a Nazi. I was like, I don't know. I don't know, and I just can't watch the third season. I just can't get into it. And the same thing happened to my daughter. Well, we're not watching it together. You can't watch that show together. That was awkward to say the least. Yeah, I was very entertained by the first and the second season. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'll get to watching it again. But anyhow, so this is what we're going to wrap up tonight. And is it tonight? Yes. In a minute we'll be. Nope, now it is. And I just been night for a freaking hour. Darkest out there. I think that too is the fact that they would do a story like that in today's climate. Yeah, people need to grow some thicker skin. That show doesn't pull a whole lot of punches. But anyhow, we'll see you guys in the morning if you're morning people. And we'll pick up where we left off to try to get these guys knocked out by the weekend. Can't wait to do the headlights. I enjoy doing that part. So until next time, folks, we'll see.